Okay, everybody, so now that your backgrounds are dry, now is the time to add the icing on the cake, or at least one of the icings on the cake, the pizzazz round of detail work, which I really think that it makes so much difference. And it really is an enjoyable way to kind of wind down a painting session is to work on the details, that is. So what I have out on my table here are all the paintings thus far that I have that need detail work. Of course, I probably only want to work one at a time, but I just wanted to kind of showcase that when I do this process, just like a lot of my work, I will streamline it by doing more than one piece at a time. Okay, so what else do we have out on the table? We have some pencils, just in case you want to add a little bit more detail. I have some paint pens. Again, I'm keeping it in the neutral family, so the colors are black and white and a couple different widths of pens, or paint pens, that is. And then I have a variety of permanent ink pens. I most likely won't use even half of these, but I have a couple out. I normally use the smallest ones to begin with. And I didn't mention this, but maybe a scrap sheet of paper would be handy. I'll grab one. If your pen's not running or it's not working for some reason, you might get a little bit of paint clogged in the nozzle, or the tip of it. So it's helpful just to do a scratching off of the tip with a blank piece of paper. I also have a couple of jars of paint out here, or bottles of paint rather, and I may or may not use them, but you can grab any of your paints if you need to redo an area. But at this juncture, I'm not going to need a lot, so I don't have my well out here. If I do need anything, I'll just sprinkle a couple dabs on my palette. The other tip I can give you is to have a brush handy, because a lot of times you can kind of get some extra um, like shading going on by activating the pen work. It is also nice that in case you go too heavy on the pen, so just activating with water is a good tip. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit. All right, get comfortable, because that's another thing. If you're like right now, I'm probably too far away to do my exercise right here because I can't see my details. It's probably better off for me to kind of get it close to um, my face so I can like see the details or whatever's comfortable. And I kind of like to work at an angle, and that's just me. So I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. Let me move the camera down just a tad bit. All right. And just be sure to keep in the frame. All right, like I said, I normally start with the smallest pen first. And when I'm adding my detail work, I usually just want to go very light. And I'm using my lines, just like I mentioned in the beginning, like my pen very loosely. And kind of get a kind of a scribbly effect. I can add some stippling if I want. And I do usually pretty much outline most everything. And I also, if I find like an area that's really small, I might kind of enhance it. And sometimes I'll do all the black first, and then come back with a white, or you can do a little bit at a time. Just a matter of preference. I just kind of play with design. Add a little stippling here and there. And when we get to our other shapes, they're going to be, you might want to add more patterns. Like, for example, when we get to the circles or our abstract, our last project, you might want to have more line work that has more doodles in it, or um, just kind of making shapes with your pen. So right here, I'll add some circle marks. And you don't have to go super dark throughout the whole piece. You can kind of stipple it a little bit. Each section, I should say, not the whole piece. I do have a. But already it's starting to come to life. I'm just going to do a couple of sections live with you guys, and then I'll just kind of do a watch along. Okay, so next thing, like say for example, you want to add a little bit of shading. I mentioned like you could take that wet brush and your pen will get a little bit grayish. This also works if you actually did the pen line a little bit too harsh. This helps kind of tone it down. You can always go back over it later. Again, we're not being realistic. We're just kind of being playful and I'm not going. I'm not drawing. One thing to kind of keep in mind is to not draw straight lines. Do like short, kind of jagged lines or kind of scribbly lines. Because that will make it a little bit less cartoonish. And each one will come out different. Just by the nature of the beast, you're not going to draw any or paint any two things alike. Maybe some stripies might come out the same, but for the most part, your more intricate designs will have a little bit more um, very uniqueness to them. So far, and this is something you can do, after you end your painting day and you still want to do something creative, but you want to get out everything. Grab your pens and sit at the couch or kitchen table and just kind of play away. Now, let's see. If you get some areas that you want a little bit thicker lines, definitely can kind of upgrade to a thicker pen. That really wasn't even thick as I wanted. Here's more of a bullet pen. So say, for example, all right, and say that you do see something you need a little bit more um, detail in, or you want to enhance an area, you definitely can. Feel free to grab your paints. I'm going to do some more work with the paints later on to show you how I also add even more dimension. But like say for example, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker with the gray. Now, of course, you don't want to go in with a pen after you do the paint, and you'll have to let it dry again. But it's always an option. That's what I want to kind of reiterate. A little bit of shading off to the side. What do you guys think so far? When it finally comes together, 100%, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, what a difference. I know, I've said it a million times myself. Even when I thought I've lost a painting in the sense that my design, really wasn't happy with it. Once I got the pen work on there, I was like, okay, maybe this will work after all. And I should note, even if your pen's a little bit dried up, sometimes that in itself can be handy because um, you don't always want a stark black line. So sometimes if it's a little faded or the juice is running out, you can use that for like sketching or very light sketching, or like this one doesn't have as much juice as the first one I grabbed. But I mean, it's still working. Um, as I mentioned before, if there's something that you decide you want a little bit more um, detail work with, perhaps you can use the pencil or the Stabilo pencil. I guess that's better than I thought it was. Just this piece isn't really as close up as I would like it, when I'm actually. And take your time. This is not a fast process by any means. It's supposed to be slow and deliberate and fun. I like the stripe on that one. That's cute. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to finish up this piece. I'll work on these two, and we'll do a little bit of a speed play so you can kind of see how it comes along. And